Hello and welcome to Gardening with Ben. This is our 16th episode. I hope you're enjoying them so far. I'm certainly enjoying recording them. It's something new for me. I'm used to being behind the camera, doing live videos on my Facebook page, Gardening with Ben, but it's strange to actually be behind a microphone and recording through this way. So yeah, I'm enjoying it, as there's not much to be showing you on the allotment at the moment, as obviously not much is growing at the moment, so I'm enjoying this different way of coming across to my followers and for them to listen to tips and advice. So today's episode is going to be about what I am actually doing on the allotment at the moment. I recorded one last week, but I thought it's good to keep a weekly occurrence up telling you what I'm getting up to down on my allotment plot myself. So grab a cup of tea, grab a cup of coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about everything what I'm doing down on the plot at the moment. As it is winter time, and you wouldn't think that you'd be doing much down on the plot, but I'm still doing as much as ever down there at the moment, while the weather allows me to. As so far, we've been pretty blessed with the weather for November. To say it's getting towards winter, where it's not been bad weather here in Sheffield where I am. It's still been coolish, but we've not had no torrential rain or frost yet. So I'm still managing to get to the plot on a daily basis and continue with my projects. So last week we were talking about all the things what we were doing then, which was I've got 3 strawberry beds where I grow fantastic strawberries. This year was one of the best crops that I've ever had off my plot. I had absolutely loads, and usually I'm away when my strawberries are ready, but thankfully this year I wasn't away. Obviously due to COVID we weren't allowed away, so I was here to enjoy the delights of my strawberries. And I've got 3 of those beds, and every year I like to dig them over and replant them all and add some fresh compost into the soil for the food for them to enjoy and to flourish for the next year ahead. So I dug up them 3 beds. That was my job for the last few days. They've all been relaid and tidied up. I've cut off all the old leaves. They look fantastic now. They look fresh. A lot of them had flowers growing on them, so that shows how warm it's got, because it's confusing the strawberries. So I've cut off all the flowers. They won't do anything. Some even had a couple of strawberries growing on them, but they won't come to anything. They're only taking all the nutrients from the plant, what the plant needs to get it through winter. So I've chopped all them off and replanted them all and rebuilt my beds where they are. And I've got to admit, they look pretty good, to be honest. If you've seen my photos, they are looking really good. You can see them on Instagram, Gardening with Ben, and on my Facebook page. So that's one job which I've been doing. If you haven't heard already, the place where I'm recording these podcasts is an app called Anchor, and it's totally free. They also put your podcasts on multiple platforms like Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts. Straight away, you can also schedule the time that you want it to go on, which is fantastic. There's also creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer, so you can record your podcast literally anywhere you want. You can also make money from your podcasts as well, with no minimum listenership whatsoever. So the more times it gets played, the more times you can earn money from it. And there's everything you need to make your podcast all in one place. So if you download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm, you can get started with your free podcasts. So the next tasks, what I'm up to on the plot, is I need to finally get my garlic planted. I know I mentioned it last week about planting my garlic, but these strawberry beds didn't go as fast as I thought they would do. as I only thought they'd take a day to do each bed, but 2 of them are really bad. They've got bindweed growing under the black matting, so I had to dig all the bindweed out. So if you don't know about bindweed, you need to get every single bit of root out, because if you leave the tiniest bit in, it will grow back. So I'm trying to get on top of the bindweed issues that I've got on the plot. So I've had to dig over them 2 beds, and them beds alone took 2 days each. And then obviously my strawberry beds, some had gaps in them, so I've had to fill all them gaps with new strawberry plants, what I got from the runners. So that took about 5 or 6 days in total to do them, just them 3 strawberry beds. So thankfully, obviously, there's nothing else happening on the plot at the moment. I don't have to keep anything watered or plant new seeds, because I'm not planting any seeds through winter, so I can concentrate on them. So fingers crossed, in the next few days, I'm going to have my garlic planted. So I'll be taking pictures of them to show you what and how I've done them. So fingers crossed, they'll be in soon, as winter is a good time to plant them, as obviously the ground's wet and moist, and also the cold actually helps them, because it helps them split into the cloves what you need to grow your individual garlic bulbs to make the nice big clove what you get. So that's a task what I need to do over the next few days. And then also another task what I need to do is that I've dug up all my geranium plants, and it's the first time that I've grown flowers down on the plot this year. I grew them from seed, so I was surprised when I got some geranium plants growing. They were only tiny. I didn't think I'd get any flowers on them this year, and they were fantastic. But a lot of my followers have said to take some cuttings off them and start some more geranium plants on them. So I need to read up about how to take cuttings from geranium plants. So if you know about taking cuttings from geranium plants, feel free to send me a message on my social media and let me know the best ways to take cuttings. If not, it'll be doing what everybody else does: go on YouTube and find out the answer on how to take cuttings for geraniums. So I need to get them done, and fingers crossed I can get about 10 to 15 plants from my ones that are growing. So we'll see about that. I've also taken some cuttings from my lavender, which I've got growing as well, as ready for next year, because that smelled absolutely beautiful this year. So fingers crossed they all take and they all grow. So my plan is for this week, I've got 16 beds on my plot altogether, but because I've redesigned certain areas, things have moved, or paths have moved, so I've got to realign all 16 beds to put them all back in line with one another, which, fingers crossed, I've done the 3 worst beds, which were the strawberry beds. The other beds haven't got any flowers or anything growing in them, so it'll be a case of just digging the wood out and realigning it and redigging it back in. So that's my task for the next couple of weeks. So we've got that to do. I've also dug up my stray raspberry canes, which were growing in my strawberry bed. So I've got to plant them in a new area down the side of my plot, because each time I get some stray ones growing, I move them down the sides of my plot, so that I'm going to have like a raspberry hedge growing down the side of my plot, which, fingers crossed, will look great eventually once they've all started growing. So every year I add a few extra raspberry cane plants, as you can never have enough raspberries. You can freeze your raspberries once you're growing them. They don't last for long once you've picked them, but if you freeze them, they'll last you a year. So try and freeze as much as you're growing so that you don't waste anything. So yeah, it's going to be a busy few weeks down on the plot, and fingers crossed I can get all that done, possibly by mid-December. And then from December onwards, I want to start working on the inside of my shed, as I need to do quite a few repairs to it. I've got new shelving to put up, try and just tidy it up, neaten it up, as I'm sure most of you have got messy sheds. They're not tidy sheds. If you're a man like me, it might be a mess like mine is. So I need to tidy all that up, ready for March, because that's when I'm going to be starting planting all my seeds. So I don't want to leave it till the last minute, so I'm trying to get as much done as possible. So my main task is to get my plot done first, get that done and out of the way, and then move on to my shed. So fingers crossed we'll be able to update you on that. So I hope you've enjoyed this short little episode, just giving you an overview of what I'm getting up to on the plot, because I'm sure you all like to know what I'm doing. If you're not following me on Facebook or Instagram, you won't be able to keep up to date with what I'm doing, so it's good to tell you where I'm up to on my plot, as, like I said, these few months are busy months for me, preparing and getting it all ready for next year. So the more I do now, the less I have to do when it comes to March. I can just concentrate on the planting of the seeds and getting all the plants in. So if you don't follow me on social media, feel free to follow me on Facebook, Instagram and YouTube, Gardening with Ben. Feel free to check out my website link as well below, where I've got more tips and advice, www.gardenandallotment.com. So until tomorrow's episode at 7 o'clock, have a great time everyone, and remember, keep gardening.